The cowboy who saved the Apache girl and changed his destiny forever. Part 3. The Gathering Storm. The attack on Red Creek Ranch changed everything. For years, Caleb Dawson had faced droughts, harsh winters, cattle thieves, and the countless hardships of frontier life. But this was different. This wasn't nature. This wasn't bad luck. This was war. A deliberate, calculated warning from Victor Blackwood. The message was clear. Sell the ranch, leave the valley, or suffer the consequences. But Caleb Dawson had inherited more than land from his father. He had inherited stubbornness, and surrender was not part of his nature. The morning after the attack, smoke still drifted from the remains of the damaged barn. Several ranch hands from neighboring properties arrived to help. Together they repaired fences, gathered scattered livestock, and salvaged whatever supplies had survived the fire. Aponi worked beside them. Though exhausted from the night's events, she refused to rest. Her determination impressed everyone.
We will rebuild.
Even the older ranchers quietly admitted it. By sunset, much of the immediate damage had been repaired, but the deeper wound remained. The valley no longer felt safe. Every rider approaching from the horizon drew suspicious glances. Every unfamiliar sound during the night caused hands to drift toward revolvers. Fear had entered Red Creek, and fear was exactly what Victor Blackwood wanted. 3 days later, Caleb rode into the town of Dry Creek. The small frontier settlement consisted of little more than a general store, a blacksmith, a church, and a handful of wooden buildings lining a dusty main street. Normally the town felt welcoming. Today it felt tense. Whispers followed him. Conversations stopped when he entered rooms. People had heard about the attack. Most suspected Blackwood's involvement. Few dared say it aloud. Victor Blackwood controlled too much land, too much money, too much influence. Even the town sheriff seemed uncomfortable discussing him. Inside the general store, Caleb purchased supplies while listening carefully to nearby conversations. Several ranchers were speaking in hushed tones. Sold out last week. Had no choice.
Caleb.
Blackwood offered him half the value. Still took it. Better than losing everything. Caleb's jaw tightened. Another ranch gone. Another family leaving the valley. Blackwood's empire continued expanding. One property at a time. One family at a time. Eventually only Red Creek Ranch would remain, and then Blackwood would come for him. That evening, Caleb returned home carrying more than supplies. He carried troubling news. Aponi listened carefully as he described what he had learned. "He's buying everything," she frowned. "Why?" "Water." Aponi nodded slowly. She understood. In the West, water was life. Whoever controlled rivers and streams controlled the future. Blackwood wasn't simply collecting land. He was building power. Enough power to dominate the entire region. For several moments silence filled the cabin. Then Aponi spoke. "My grandfather once said greed is like fire." Caleb looked at her. It always wants more. The truth of those words lingered long after she finished speaking. A week later, an opportunity arrived. A large cattle buyer in Cheyenne offered an excellent price for Caleb's herd. The sale would provide enough money to repair the ranch completely and survive the coming winter. But there was a problem. The cattle needed to reach Cheyenne first. The journey would take several days, and Blackwood undoubtedly knew about it. Caleb gathered a small group of trusted ranchers. Together they planned the drive carefully. The route would avoid major roads. They would travel quickly. Stay alert. Trust no one. Before departing, Caleb stood near the corral checking equipment. Aponi approached quietly. "You think they will attack?" It wasn't a question. Caleb nodded. "I think they might." "And if they do?" Caleb adjusted his saddle. "Then we'll deal with it." Aponi studied him. Sometimes his courage impressed her. Sometimes it worried her.
I will be
Today
back
it
soon,
did both.
Aponi.
Without warning, she stepped
Please
closer,
promise me you
close
will be
enough to take
careful.
his hand. For a moment, neither moved. Neither spoke. The world seemed strangely quiet. Finally, Aponi smiled softly. "Come back." The words were simple, yet Caleb felt them deep inside his heart. His fingers tightened gently around hers. "I will." Neither realized how much those words would mean before the journey ended. The cattle drive began before dawn. Hundreds of cattle moved across the prairie beneath the first light of morning. Dust rose into the air. Cowboys shouted commands. Horses trotted steadily alongside the herd. For 2 days, everything went smoothly. Too smoothly. By the third afternoon, Caleb's instincts began warning him. The terrain had changed. Steep hills surrounded the trail, narrow passes limited movement, perfect ambush territory. He didn't like it, not at all. His concerns proved justified. The attack came shortly before sunset. Gunfire exploded from the ridges above. Horses panicked, cattle scattered in every direction. Men shouted, chaos erupted. Caleb immediately recognized the attackers. Blackwood's hired guns, at least 10 of them. Maybe more. The raiders weren't trying to steal cattle. They wanted to destroy the drive completely. Bullets ricocheted from rocks. Dust filled the air. The herd stampeded toward a narrow canyon. If they entered it, dozens could be lost. Perhaps hundreds. Without hesitation, Caleb spurred his horse forward. Several cowboys followed. Together they raced ahead of the panicked animals, risking their lives to redirect the stampede. A bullet narrowly missed Caleb's shoulder. Another struck the ground beside his horse. Still he pushed forward. Gradually the herd began turning. The worst disaster was avoided, but the battle continued. The attackers retreated only after suffering several injuries. As darkness approached, silence finally returned. The cattle drive survived, barely. Yet Caleb understood something important. Blackwood had escalated the conflict. This was no longer intimidation. This was open warfare. Back at Red Creek Ranch, Aponi waited anxiously. Each day felt longer than the last. Each sunset brought new worry. On the fourth evening, riders finally appeared on the horizon. Relief flooded through her. Caleb had returned, safe. The moment he dismounted, she rushed toward him. Neither cared who was watching. Neither cared about appearances.
I'm back,
the fear
Aponi.
of losing each other
I'm
had
so
stripped
glad.
away hesitation. For several seconds, they simply stood together. The unspoken feelings between them had become impossible to ignore. Later that night, after the others retired, Caleb and Aponi sat beneath the stars. The prairie stretched endlessly around them. A cool wind moved through the grass. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, Caleb broke the silence. "When I thought I might not come back," he stopped, searching for words. Aponi waited patiently. Caleb looked directly into her eyes. "You were the first thing I thought about." Aponi's breath caught. The world seemed to pause. "I thought about you too." The confession was quiet, honest, powerful. Months of growing affection finally found a voice. Slowly, Caleb reached for her hand. This time, neither pulled away. Above them, thousands of stars filled the Wyoming sky, and beneath those stars, two hearts finally acknowledged what they had known for months. They were in love. But happiness rarely lasts long on the frontier. The very next week, new trouble arrived.
The fire tells
An
us
Apache
of a great
messenger rode
struggle.
into Red Creek Valley carrying
We must be
urgent
ready
news.
for what comes.
Several tribal leaders wanted a meeting.
Our land depends
Immediately.
on it.
Aponi's father appeared concerned, very concerned. Something serious had happened. The meeting took place near the foothills several days later. Chiefs and elders gathered around a large council fire. Caleb attended as a guest. What he learned shocked him. Evidence had surfaced showing that Victor Blackwood had been secretly manipulating land agreements for years. Fraudulent documents.
This ends
forged
tonight,
signatures,
Blackwood.
Illegal
I've been
claims.
waiting for you, Caleb.
Entire communities,
I'm
both
coming for
settlers
what's
and
mine.
tribal families, had been
Let the
cheated.
storm rage on.
The conspiracy stretched farther than anyone imagined. And Blackwood wasn't acting alone. Powerful businessmen in distant cities were involved. Men with influence. Men with money. Men who would do anything to protect their interests. The council quickly reached a decision. Evidence must be delivered to federal authorities. Only then could Blackwood be stopped legally. But transporting the documents would be dangerous. Very dangerous. Because if Blackwood learned about them, he would stop at nothing to destroy them, or anyone carrying them. As the council ended, an elder approached Caleb. "You have courage." Caleb nodded respectfully. The elder continued, "And Blackwood already considers you his enemy." A bad feeling settled in Caleb's stomach. The elder handed him a leather pouch. Inside were copies of the documents, the evidence, the future of the valley, the future of Aponi's people, the future of his ranch. Suddenly, all of it rested in his hands. Far away, inside Blackwood's mansion, another messenger arrived. The man whispered urgently. Blackwood's expression darkened, then slowly transformed into something colder, more dangerous. He now knew about the documents, and he knew who carried them. Caleb Dawson. Blackwood walked to the window overlooking his vast property. "The game is over," he said quietly. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the distant mountains. A final confrontation was coming, and before it ended, someone would lose everything. To be continued. Part 4 will feature a dangerous mountain pursuit, Blackwood's deadliest assassin, Caleb protecting the evidence, Aponi risking her life to save him, tribal warriors and ranchers joining forces, the beginning of the final showdown against Victor Blackwood.